Hello, welcome everybody. Hey Jeff, how are you? Connor, I see you there. How's my audio, everybody? I hope it's good. I'm sporting the muffs tonight because I usually get a lot of feedback and an echo, and this way I'm hoping it works better. But I'm just going to quickly get the stream up on my iPad because my computer lags a little bit at times. So we've got a few in now. So tonight, exciting stuff we got going on. I have my friend from Washington, USA, coming in, and his name is Jason. You will find him at Redfish Bluefish on YouTube. Once I got a moderator in here, I will get that posted, check his YouTube channel out. But without further ado, here's Jason. Let's get us fixed up here. There we go. How's it going, Jason?
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me on. Hey, YouTube, what's going on, guys?
Yeah, thanks for coming out. I haven't really let everybody know what you're all about yet. I'm sure if people did go ahead and look, they would see that you take a very scientific approach to keeping your aquarium plants and your aquariums in general. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Hey, thanks for having me on again. Yeah, a little bit about me. I'm really heavily influenced by kind of what I call the planted tank movement, or maybe the aquascaping movement, something, I've been in the hobby for a long time. Right. And back, I think I don't want to lie, but I think it was 1980. That's when I got my first aquarium. I was a little kid. And, if you, I'm sure you kept stuff way back then too, a long time. Right. And you remember back,
yeah, not quite 1980, but a long time.
Well, a while back, right? But if you remember, even back like 15, 20 years ago, what kind of plants could you really get for aquariums? Well, plenty of plastic ones. And then they had like swords, sure, Aponogetons. That's kind of, a few more here and there, right? So exactly, and whenever the planted tank movement came out, and aquascaping that came out of Japan. Really smart guy figured out, hey, wait a minute, if you use higher quality soil and inject CO2 and all kinds of stuff, you can keep crazy plants that just would never survive in aquariums, and pow, that took off with me when I saw that. When I saw what people are able to do now with plants, it really sparked something in me that I didn't have in the hobby before, to be honest with you. This love of plants I didn't know that I had.
So what kind of livestock do you keep in your tank? Say fish, like fish livestock. I'm sure you keep fish with your plants. What do you mainly run?
Mainly, honestly, since I'm a big planted tank guy, mostly guppies, honestly, because guppies are just, honestly, man, they're just so underrated as a planted tank fish. And they're really helpful because if guppies just as well as I do, right? There's one thing guppies are going to constantly do is mess with everything in your aquarium, constantly pick at stuff. Can I eat this? Can I eat that? Is this good? Is that good? Hey, let's go over here and pick at this and pick at that. Well, what that does is that keeps your plants clear of detritus, right? And when detritus lands on their stems and leaves, that is that's the beginning of algae. That's how it happens, especially stuff like BBA, right? Which is really bad stuff when that happens. So really guppies are really what I keep with my planted tanks for the most part. Right now I've got some barbs behind me. So
okay, very good. Now are you running
really active fish? You know what I mean? The stuff they're going to mix stuff up and keep it lively to keep it clean.
Are you running like pure strains of guppies? Are you breeding them? Or are you just keeping them? Or are you just doing mutts and making your own stuff up?
Yeah, I've been a guppy guy for a long time. The ones that I have right now I actually ordered a trio, and I got them from Thailand. And these are Platinum Galaxy Tiger guppies. I'd never heard of the strain, really. And when I kind of saw them, I was like, wow, I got to try some of these guys out. And those are what I have right now. I've had them for about about a year and a half now. I played with the strain and kind of cleaned it up a little bit and refined it, I think, a little bit. Yeah, I've kept guppies for a long time, you know.
Very good. I have a few right now. I have some that I kind of messed with. They're a black Moscow cross, essentially. They look good. They're not as good as they should. Most of them actually live with my turtle now.
Well, you got some. Wait a minute. You got some endlers too, right? You got some endler stuff going on, don't you?
No, I don't have endlers, but I have some black metallic deltas. And that's what I'm going to start working with a bit. But it's funny you mentioned barbs because I've actually been working with my barbs more than anything lately. I have some tiger barbs and Odessa barbs, but
those are awesome. They're
really
great. They're great. They're great fish. You know, they're great for planted tanks.
And they're so easy to breed.
Really easy. I mean, I've seen. I don't know if you've ever kept. Have you ever kept any like monster barbs before? I mean, you know, you've seen once in a while you go to
barbs and whatnot.
Yeah, like big.
Yeah,
ones.
no.
They're well, even like some of the you know, like you get some of the tiger barbs that have been fed really well and and they're old boys, you know.
Yeah.
They can get pretty chunky too. If you ever have a problem with duckweed, those big boys, they'll eat it.
Yeah,
they will actually start to eat it.
Even the tiger barbs will, but not enough because I have them in a 55-gallon. I have 12 New Guinea red rainbows. I think 4 tiger barbs and 2 Odessa barbs and a bunch of bristlenose plecos.
Yeah,
and like the coolest fish of all time, a horse-faced loach.
Nice.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love him. You never know.
A lot of personality, those things, man. Tons of personality.
Oh, you're getting choppy for a sec there.
Oh, okay. I was
there you
saying tons of personality, those things. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, he's about like that now, and he's got a sand bottom, so he just pops up once in a while, has something to eat, and he's gone again. But he's pretty neat. But that tank is full of duckweed and water lettuce. They don't keep up on it enough.
You know, for planted tank guys like us, I mean, I check out your channel all the time, man. You got some great plants, great stuff going on over there. And I mean, as soon as I saw, and this is, I could be lying, like 3 months ago or so, as soon as I saw, fish guy with plants, subscribe immediately, like boom. Immediate, like no questions asked, because there's not a whole lot of us. I mean, there's a lot of fish and shrimp people, but plant people are like not even 2 for 1. You know what I mean?
I've morphed over the years. Like I was always an African cichlid guy, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all I did from 12 years old until basically about 4 years ago.
Right.
That's all I did was Africans. I've
See, that's interesting.
Every kind of African, and I just got, I guess, tired of them. And I'm like, oh, there's these plants. So I started playing with them, and then I started playing with shrimp, and then I'm almost out of Africans now. I have a few, but I have a 180-gallon setup with them, but that's about it.
That's the real bummer about you know, I love cichlids. I'm like you, and I started off with cichlids, actually. I started off with angelfish. You know, I was breeding angelfish and guppies when I was a kid, right? That's such a bummer about cichlids. They're such amazing fish, and they do such a great job at destroying and eating your plants. You know, they just
absolutely everything.
You're not going to have plants if you have any cichlids like that.
No, even haps that aren't supposed to eat them, like they all eat plants. They all keep plants in their diet, and if they're not eating plants or eating fish that have plants in their gut that's in their diet, and that's what a lot of people don't understand too with predator fish. They're like, oh, you just got to give them meat. No, they need vegetable too, because the fish they're eating have vegetables in their system, and that's how they get their nutrients.
The insult to injury on that, and I'll let you move on. The insult to injury on that, man, is I know you've kept Oscars before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Throw an Oscar in a planted tank and watch what happens. He's probably not going to eat stuff. He's just going to move everything constantly. Like constantly, your plants will be history. He won't eat them.
Yeah, it's like keeping geophagus. You can't keep any rooted plants with geophagus. They're earth eaters. It's even in their name. That they just uproot everything. Uproot.
The clue's in the name. The clue is
So
in the name.
guppies, good plant fish. Yeah, the barbs are great, and rainbows. Rainbows are great plant fish as well, I've found. What else would you say? Angelfish.
Definitely angels of picket stuff. Honestly, I guess we're kind of skipping. I mean, we can just kind of generic fish. Amanos, definitely want amano shrimp are just invaluable for planted tank guys. What else? Ottos are decent. I've never had problems with ottos really uprooting any of my plants.
Yeah, ottos and cory cats should all be good. Yeah, I guess it's weird, but then there's a few fish that you wouldn't think, right? Like you can see straight up behind me right there. That's my Emica splendens tank. And and
you just did a video on those guys yesterday, right?
Yeah, I did, because it was just crazy how that moss is. There was just a little wee chunk of moss I basically put in there by accident, and that's what it's become. And it's came into itself really. But I originally had those fish in a heavily planted tank. It's actually the one right behind my head, that tank.
Oh, I see.
And they were destroying it. They were absolutely destroying it. They love eating plants. So don't put your splendens in with real nice plants.
Well, that's a good tip. I was looking at those that you.
We got some lag here again, I think.
Am I back? Let's see if I'm.
You're back.
There we go. Sorry, I was just saying. When I saw your video on those fish, I was thinking, wow, I got to get me some of those, but maybe not now. maybe not so quick.
Yeah, they're hard on your finer leaf plants. They'll eat them for sure. I'm not sorry, guys. I'm not really keeping up with the chat. We're having just a great conversation here. So basically, chat amongst yourself. If I see something jump out at me, like if you have a question for us and I see it jump out, I'll bring it up. But we're just having a great conversation here. But pistogrammas, someone mentioned. Someone mentioned most of the Tetris rams.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So you just got to kind of be careful. I'm trying to focus on this. Sorry, like stuff like this really fine leaf stuff. Like the little hairs and stuff on that.
They'll eat that.
Yeah, it's just plants like that. Honestly, though, it's really not the animal's fault. It just so closely resembles food that they eat worms and stuff. And it's just instinct. They'll hit it when they go by it from time to time. So.
Yeah. Why don't you show us some of your plants? You got some pretty cool stuff there.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Let me see if I can flip the camera around. Bear with me. Let's see. This is much better. Here we go. Yeah, actually, I got a bunch of plants going in here. I started this thing up recently where I used to have a bunch of legacy, like the Generation 1 aqua soil from ADA. It's very, very expensive stuff. And it just had far too many organics in it, and I just got so many algae explosions. So what I did is I switched to just a black sand substrate, and then I fill it up about that tall with just good old fluval stratum, and then I cap the top with some gravel just like that. And it really is like a perfect kind of a setup for me in these 15 and 20 gallons because, if something's getting a little bit too much light or needs more, you just pick up the pot and move it. You don't have to uproot the plant or anything. And so this is what I got going on in here. This is some stuff I got. This is some Kufia anagaloidea. This is from Brazil. I actually just got this stuff in like 2 days ago. And this is very cool. This is a very, very weird plant. It doesn't even have a species yet. This is called Rotala sp. Maca Red.
Oh, wow. That's gorgeous.
It's very, very odd in that
very fine.
That the needles like down here, they kind of like come straight out from the stem, but at the top, they angle downward. It's a very, very strange behaving plant.
Where do those ones come from?
Oh gosh, you know what? I believe that this Rotala, this particular one is South American, I believe. I
Okay.
believe. This one here is called Ludwigia senegalensis. This comes from Senegal, also Guinea. It's also called Senegal, Ludwigia Guinea. It's a very, very lovely plant,
Wow.
really red.
I
And
have some
this,
Ludwigia, but it doesn't look like that. Mine's all just green.
oh, that's good old Ludwigia repens, you know. Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? It's really important. Those green plants, they don't get enough, really, they don't get enough credit because, you know, if you have an entire tank, let's say decked with that, mixed with, I don't know, that, it's just too much color. It's too
Yeah.
much red. It really washes everything else out. So the
Those would
idea,
look fantastic with yeah, like basically a green background, right? Like
bingo, bingo, you
yeah, those
got it.
would look, they would just pop.
So Ludwigia repens, the stuff you have, you know, I love that stuff. It's such a great filler plant. You don't need CO2, all that stuff that I'm doing. You know, these really weird plants, these bizarre ones. If you don't pump CO2 in there, they'll slowly fade and go. You know, that's just because in nature, you know. And a lot of planted tank people, I know you know this, you're a sharp planted tank guy, but a lot of, like, especially beginner plant people, they stick plants in their tank, you know, and they're fertilizing it and they're doing all the stuff, you know, following the directions on the bottle. And then after a while, they start, wow, this plant keeps fading. Why does it keep fading? It keeps fading. Well, the number one thing that people usually overlook is carbon, a carbon source. Because when we have these plants in nature, you know, they're growing in muck. There's fish poop, there's turtles tooting in there, you name it. There's all kinds of, there's fermentation going on all over the bottom, all the dead stuff. So that stuff is constantly dumping massive amounts of carbon, available carbon, into the water. So when you think of it that way, when you put these plants into a glass box with sand, well, where's the carbon, right? There is no carbon unless you do that. That really pumps the carbon up. So that really was the genius breakthrough that Sensei Amano, Takashi Amano over at ADA kind of figured out. You know, he figured it out one day, and he was going home with a friend, as the story has it, and he had been drinking, and he was lamenting over some photos that just wouldn't turn out well. So he kind of stumbled into the, I guess, Circle K or whatever there, and he picked up some seltzer water, and eureka, he had a eureka moment. And the next day, he filled an entire aquarium up with nothing but seltzer water, unflavored seltzer, and pow, all the plants popped.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't do any CO2 actually.
Yeah, you absolutely don't have to on a lot of stuff, you know.
But if you want to keep what you have, you need it. You need it. So I just don't keep that stuff until I'm ready to do CO2.
I hear you. Well, it's just expensive. If you don't need it, don't do it, right?
Yeah, I think the drawback for me of CO2 is I have too many tanks on the go already. I can't.
Oh man,
I just don't want to add that extra maintenance to my program.
I know totally what you're talking about. I really do.
Yeah. Here's a question for you, Jason.
Okay.
Do you use pea gravel as a substrate?
Okay, awesome. I used to, actually, and you absolutely can use it as a substrate. I do use it just to cap my little, you know, pots that you saw in there. That's basically pea gravel is what that is. I don't use it. I have used it, and I will use it again for like fish only tanks, or, you know, it's particularly good to use, in fact, for these stems, you know, like just regular stem plants. You know, as long as you're fertilizing your water column, you know, almost all stem plants, they really don't feed from their roots. You know, they really don't. They feed from their leaves, you know, from the water column. So yeah, pea gravel definitely has its place.
Yeah, I use it just for my fish tanks, like just fish livestock, and I use ADA in most of my shrimp tanks.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Are you, so the ADA, if you don't mind me asking, are you running the new ADA?
The new ADA. What do you mean, like the lighter colored stuff, the brown stuff?
Well, so at first they had Amazonia, which is
Yeah,
first generation, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, this stuff
that's what
is
I'm
frozen
running.
algae everywhere."
Yeah, I'm
And then
running
they put out the
Amazonia ADA.
yeah, and then they put out the Amazonia Light,
Yeah.
right? And then they discontinued both of those. They're gone.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. So now it's just 88. Just it's like Amazonia 2 or something like that.
Okay.
Basically, what they did is they realized what I realized after a short while, that unfortunately their substrate is way too high in organics, which is why everyone was like, "Wow, algae is growing literally on the substrate, like
I don't get
right
that.
next." Yeah, it was a bummer. I would guess, you probably I bet you have the light going. I would
No,
imagine, right?
I know both of those versions, and I have the dark and the light. The last bag that I purchased, I could only get the light, but I prefer the dark. And
Right.
now, what I also do is, I'm sure you do as well, if you're putting any fish livestock or shrimp livestock in, is I cycle that tank with the 88 Amazonia for like 2 months
Oh
before
yeah.
I even put anything in it. Like
Oh
it's
boy.
when I'm going to do a tank with Amazonia, I've thought about this 2 months before I actually want it. That's
Yes, sir. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's so important to let that stuff vent, all of that ammonia, nitrogen, and stuff. I mean,
yeah.
it vents tons of stuff, and
Well, not
I'll be the first to fess up. The very first planted, ADA aqua soil expensive tank I did. I think it was like a week later. I threw a couple guppies in there. Not knowing any better. Like, wow, this stuff really vents a lot of nitrogen and stuff. Next day I came out, both guppies gone. Like jumped
yeah,
out, like bailed.
yeah, they'd be burning.
Yeah.
Now, someone could probably look at this from the other side of the coin as well. If you do use a substrate like Amazonia, which takes a long time, why does it
Mhm.
take a long time? It's because your cycle takes 8 weeks to develop in your tank. So it's actually a very good indicator of when your cycle is good. Um, if
Very
you
good
want to
point.
look at it from that side, should we be putting fish in a tank before 8 weeks, even if we're not using Amazonia? Because it proves to me it takes 8 weeks for a cycle to go. Because if the cycle is going, that's the only it always gases off, but the
Right, right.
cycle keeps things in check. So there's a couple of ways to look at it, I guess, with the
Absolutely. Yeah,
Amazonia.
you're absolutely right. And you touched on something again, I don't think enough people with channels, influential people with channels like yours and so many others. No two tank cycles are alike, are they?
No,
They're really not.
you can
I,
actually
I
have two tanks side by each, and the exact same water put in them, the exact same substrate, the exact same light, the exact same everything, the exact same lid, and they'll be two totally different tanks. Totally different.
exactly correct. Exactly. One, oh, look, here's the telltale beginnings of brown diatom. Everyone expects
Yeah.
that. This tank I was just showing you, not a speck of brown diatom at all. And that tank is full of sand. Brown diatom loves silica. That's what it thrives on.
It
You do the math.
does.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
It just doesn't make any sense, man.
Well, there's a question here for you, Jason. How many
Oh,
tanks do you have? And this is actually Connor. This is my stepson, Connor. He's
oh, hey,
actually
Connor, Fox Games. Thanks for the question. Let me count actually right now. Not too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kind of counting in my head. 8, just 8 right now. Actually, yeah. Not many at all. I'll show you guys, Connor, since you asked a question. I have just 8 tanks right now. I'll flip this around. Kind of scan. Here's that really beautiful strain of guppy that I told you about. I don't know if you've seen them before. These are the Platinum Galaxy Tigers.
I noticed a lot of the Taiwan guppies. They're heavy on the yellow, eh?
Oh
They
yeah, oh yeah. But yeah, there's one of my tanks. But I'll really show you. I flip the camera back around. For Connor, I'll show you. I'm definitely in the process of setting up quite a few more aquariums. I just recently moved to Washington State. You guys know how moves go. But what I do with a lot of my time, as opposed to, you know, having 20 aquariums, which is exactly what I want, 20, maybe 30. This is what I've been messing around with. Plant micropropagation. So it's basically, here's a great example. It's a way of taking, I'm sure a lot of you guys have bought tissue cultures before. It's a way of taking a donor plant or a mother plant and taking a large sample off of it, you know, like a big old twig like that, you know, and trimming it down a little bit and sterilizing it in jars or what have you with some sterilizing agent. And then after it's sterile, in front of a flow hood, which is a device like this, which filters out all dust and microbes, you break that after it's sterilized. You break the branch down even further until you've got little tiny piece of twig that contains a meristem, and then you culture that with phytohormones, and this is what you get. You get this sort of explosion of shoots. So it's basically a very, very powerful, very fast, relatively fast way of taking one tiny piece of tissue from a plant and turning it into, what's that, about 50, maybe 60 shoots.
Wow.
And so Connor, to answer your question, I'm sorry for rambling so much, bud.
No, keep going on about that.
Well, in my defense, the reason why I only have 8 maybe aquariums is because I'm doing a lot of that. I'm in the lab breaking stuff down. I just love it. You know, I just love it. It's great.
No, that's fantastic. Maybe I just want to say hi, Zen Ginger. Thanks for coming out. Zen Ginger does a lot of the moderating for me here.
Yeah.
So
Zen's great.
I'll just see if there's another question for you quick. And if you have time, I'd love it if you could go back to some of your tissue culturing. That's some pretty interesting stuff. And I've never done anything like that. It's amazing
Sure,
what someone can do with that. But I also have a quick here. Yeah, people are asking about floor is yours, man. That's what people want to see.
What's that?
The floor is yours.
Okay.
That's what people want to see.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't mind, yeah, go for it.
No, let's
go all
go.
science guy on us.
I'm gonna steal another sip of tea.
Yeah, give her.
My delicious not warm tea.
Yeah, I'm having my tea with Bailey's tonight.
Oh, nice. You know, I'm a tea guy. It sounds like you're a tea guy as well. You know, most people, I live in just outside of the greater Seattle area. You know, this is big coffee land up here, but I stand by my tea, man. You know?
Yeah, I live in Tim Hortons land.
There you
go. Since all this nonsense has started going on, I honestly haven't had a Tim Hortons coffee in over 3 weeks now. I just it's not worth it to go get coffee. So I have a percolator at home. I can make my own, right? And I can put Bailey's in mine. So
absolutely. Well, what I can do, if you're cool, I can swing this around and
give her
kind of do a little just kind of quick and well, not too dirty, but it'll be quick. So basically, just as I said, what happens with micropropagation? Actually, let's go back and I'll show you a plant, because the most important thing to understand is what a meristem is, right? Especially on a stem plant. So on a stem plant, here's a great example. See this red plant right here, really red. So where upon along the main stem, right, which is called a rachis, you've got leaves coming out of it. The leaves are actually petioles, and then attached to the petioles are leaves. So where those leaves come off the stem, just above that are the meristems. And anybody that's ever, taken a plant and gone, and cut it, knows what a meristem is, because just below the cut, the plant's going to go boop. It's going to make a shoot that goes that way and a shoot that goes that way. So where those shoots are growing out are at those nodes right there, right? And that's where the meristems are located. So if you know what a meristem is, then the next step is essentially finding a really healthy donor plant, taking usually a large sample off of it, and then going over here and getting something sterile like mason jars or anything you use. You basically, you fill it up with some clean water, and you get some, I'm trying to find one. There we go.
Now, when you say clean water, are you meaning RO water, like perfect water?
So this is just the initial part, to clean it up. Just tap water is perfectly fine. You would run it under really, really gentle, not cold, not hot, just lukewarm water. And with a really fine sable brush, just really gently brush it at those nodes, where the petioles come off of the stem. Like if this is the main stem, it's going to have a petiole that comes off there. And then on the end of the petiole is a leaf, and on the end here is a leaf. You would want to brush it here and here, right, where those little junctures are with this under running water. And it's key. It's very important to note that we always want the younger meristems on the plants. The younger the meristem, the more vibrant they are, the more shoots you'll get. So the youngest meristems are always at the top. The further you go down, the older they are, right? Because plants grow up. So once you've cleaned it up, you put it in a jar, and usually you put a couple of drops of some kind of a plant-safe detergent. This is called Tween 20. It's very, very common. You can get it all over. Just a couple drops in there and some cheesecloth over it with a rubber band, right? And then you just put it under the faucet with the lukewarm water running into it. Kind of rinse it like that for 10 minutes. Then take it out of that. Okay, and then you're ready to surface sterilize it. And that's often you can use the same jar, just dump the water and the detergent out, rinse it out, put the plant back in, fill it with water. And before you put the plant back in, you use some kind of a sterilizing agent, right? So we're moving on to the next step. We've given it a rough clean under tap water. We rinsed it with the cheesecloth. We're done with that now. You can fill this up with RO water. Usually, I like to use RO water. And then 1 tablet of sodium dichloroisocyanurate. This is actually baby bottle sterilizer. You can get it online and stuff. This is 400 milligrams, so this is perfect. If you use one of these tabs in here and let it dissolve, it takes about 5 minutes. Then you put your plant in there, basically. The plant that you've been rinsing, take all the leaves off of it because leaves are no good. We're not doing leaf cultures. And leaves are often a source of contamination. So right before we put it in here, just take the leaves off, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then we put the rachis, the stem, in here that's, full of our sterilizing agent, put our lid on and let it rock. Usually for most stems, 17 minutes is good. Wow. At this strength. Yeah. Your big enemy is fungus. Bacteria is easy. I mean, bacteria dies almost instantly in the presence of chlorine. Fungus is a totally different beast. Yeast, forget it. You just can't kill it. Just don't get yeast is the idea of yeast. That's why we use these, because if you get yeast, you're done. But so after about 17 minutes, right, you can take this off. And, at this point, you need to have this running, right? Because now you're sterile. You just sterilized your plant. So you need to, while this is sterilizing, over here to the side, closed up, let's pretend. Sterilize with rubbing alcohol while this thing is running. It's a flow hood. It's pretty loud. I would turn it on, but it's going to interfere with us. When you turn this device on, it drags air in from the back and puts it out to the front completely sterile. So you turn this on, let it run for about 10 minutes because certainly there's dust and stuff on this for sure, but it blows off instantly. And after about 10 minutes, sterilize the entire top with alcohol, wash your hands, all that good stuff. And then you're ready to open this guy back up and get that sterilized plant out. Okay. We take a scalpel, all sterile tools like that over there. We sterilize them in the presence of an alcohol lamp that we set on fire. And then our goal is that long piece of plant, we want to excise the newest viable meristem from it, and then plug it in to a media, right? Which is usually a mixture of, it's always a mixture of sugar, agar. Sugar is your carbon source. Agar is your solidifying agent. And then every plant has a different phytohormone profile that they respond to. Ludwigias, for instance, just so happens to be thidiazerone and naphthalene acetic acid. Those are two very, very extremely common hormones. For instance, Rotala, you see this Rotala is starting to try to act like it's going to possibly divide someday this year. This plant is totally different. That's a Rotala. That does not respond to the same hormone. This actually responds to, gosh, I'm trying to remember, a totally different phytohormone profile. So if you were to like use this plant here and this plant there, it simply wouldn't work. It simply wouldn't work.
So there's a little bit of homework involved to get into this.
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely. Well, there's a little bit, but I'll be honest with you. See if I can flip this around. How's that? To be honest with you, if you've got an internet connection, I think I said it several times the last week. If you have a smartphone, if you're lucky enough to live, in a place with a smartphone and internet connection, you have a library in your hand. You really do. So anybody who's interested in this, I would really encourage them to go to your library. Always Google the two words, micropropagation. That's one word, by the way. It's a long word. Micropropagation and protocol. So if you'd like to see, has anyone shared how to tissue culture something really weird? Micropropagation, protocol, and then the species and genus of the plant. So often you're not going to, in fact, almost always, you're not going to find the plant you're looking for, right? So the next thing you do, what's the next closest thing? Well, let's find something in the genus, right?
Okay. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. I can't believe how many shoots you get off from a little wee bit.
And honestly, the raw, now the equipment, I won't lie, it's very expensive. Flow hoods are a couple $1,000 to get a really good one. I got a great deal on that one. That one was, I think, $1,400 after shipping. So.
Oh wow.
But apart from the equipment, right? Once you get that done, and that's painful, I won't lie. The cost that it takes to make one of these things here is honestly about 8 cents.
Oh, that's crazy.
About 8 cents, maybe 10 cents for that. I mean, a wee bit of sugar, right?
And you have 50 plants in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's easily, I don't know. I mean, let's put it.
DRAGONLAIR asked if you've ever done orchids.
I have not, and that's a fantastic it's a fantastic question, because orchids are very, very challenging, extremely challenging to grow into tissue culture. It's a great question, DRAGONLAIR. In fact, that actually gives us a really great segue to talk about, like, really who is number one in the world right now in micropropagation, right? Who is the best? I don't mean an individual, but like what country? It's India. India by far have the most talented micropropagationists and plant biologists, in my opinion. And it's a really sad story behind that. You know the story behind the Cavendish, right? The Cavendish banana.
No, I don't.
Yeah, so bananas are sterile. They cannot reproduce. They have to be tissue cultured.
Oh wow.
And we used to, well, excuse me, they have to be micropropagated. That was a bit of a lie there. Anyway, so we used to have a lot of tons of bananas,
right? I've heard
purple
about
ones,
this.
and red, and red stuff. And then, because we didn't diversify, because of the way that we farm, right? We don't let things get sick, right? They're not tough. Without going into boring detail, that's what we're doing, right? And sure enough, they all got sick, and the only ones that we were able to save that are commercially viable and able to be, produced in mass number is the boring old Cavendish. Well, as it just so happens, they grow really well in India, right? Because of their climate. Bingo. That is exactly how it's weird, but it kind of makes sense. Like, how do we have so many talented micropropagationists and plant scientists all in India? It's because that's where they grow orchids and that's where they grow bananas. And those two plants are almost exclusively micropropagated.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Great. Yeah, I knew the bananas were in trouble, but it sounds like India's got it figured out. Someone asked about roses as well.
Roses, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Roses are extremely easy to tissue culture. They respond very, very well to very, very common hormones, phytohormones, auxins and cytokinins. We can talk about that in a second. They're basically two classes of hormones. One does one thing and one does the other. Roses are extremely easy to tissue culture with meristematic tissue cultures. We were talking about the stem, and then the petiole and the nodes are there. That's where the meristems are. Yeah. Roses, yeah. Roses respond very, very well to meristematic cultures. About 30 to 45 days to establish a strain, and maybe another 60 days beyond that to have fully done plantlets.
Oh, wow.
So you can turn like one plant into easily 200 rose plants. So big money in that.
Yeah, there would be for sure.
A lot of thorns.
It sounds like a painful experience doing roses. That's for sure. Just a little tip here. The Chubby Guppy says university surplus sales are great to find culturing equipment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
correct.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I'm just seeing if there's any more questions for you. Jeff, your JD Wren, he said he would have thought it was Holland for the most tissue culturing.
Well, you see, that's very interesting that you say that. And you know why? It's not because tulips are a nightmare to tissue culture. They're bulb plants. You see, where are their meristems? They don't have any. Well, that's not true. They do have them. They're in incredibly inconvenient places.
Right.
The bulbs. You see. So the big so stem plants, as you might guess, are like the second easiest plant type to tissue culture. Easily the first is moss. You just chop it up. You sterilize it.
Yeah, it is.
You salad spin it. You throw it on agar. Oh, look, I'm a genius.
Just throw it in a tank and leave it alone. It'll go.
You're good. You're good, man.
I have it everywhere. I have like full tanks of it. Christmas moss is my favorite. Out of them all, I don't know the actual scientific name of it, but one thing I did want to talk to you about, and it's something I want to talk to everybody. The way things are going in the world now, with importing becoming a risky business, so to speak, even, right? And I'm not trying to throw anybody down that imports. We have to do it. It's I'm not saying it's bad, but I think it's going to get a lot harder to do. Things like your tissue culturing, stuff like that is going to save so many imports. As we know, most of our aquatic plants come from Singapore, Taiwan, overseas. Same with a lot of our fish. A lot of our, as we were talking earlier about Odessa barbs and whatnot, and I've been breeding them, but who breeds Odessa barbs to sell them and try to make a profit, right? Nobody does. So they get imported because you get them for pennies on the dollar when you do that. But I think we're going to have to start, if we want to maintain some of these types of fish. This is, I guess, a little bit of a roll call here of maybe as hobbyists, we need to at least keep strains going to be able to trade amongst ourselves anyways, for some fish that may not be able to be imported in the future, or with great difficulty and cost. So yeah, it's great with these tissue cultures, and I think more hobbyists should maybe start at least keeping one, or if they have a big fish room, keep 1 or 2 tanks aside just for something that's not going to make you any money, but you're going to help the hobby out by keeping some locally bred strains going. What do you think about that?
I think you make excellent points. You're hitting some nails on some heads. Absolutely. I'll take, for example, I mean, I don't know what's going to, with everything going on, in the world right now. It's not good. And we're headed for, I think everyone agrees it's going to get much worse before it gets better. And I don't know what's going to happen to me, right? I could lose a job. I could, whatever. Things could happen. A lot of people are. You got 20 million Americans on unemployment right now. It's insane. 10 million. Who knows? It's so many. You can't track it anymore. So for that reason, I'm right there with you. We got to start not relying so much on that cheap import, you know,
Yeah.
because it's an easy buck. It really is. If you fill out all your paperwork and you jump through the hoops, and it's expensive and time consuming because I've done it long ago. You can import animals, and it's very doable. You can do it all day long. But what about when stuff like this starts happening, right? I mean, this is really shining a light on
how vulnerable we are, right? So
just how precariously just how precariously we're perched on this, on the edge of this globalization model. It works great if everything's running fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one little hiccup, it starts to shudder and fall over. So I think you make very, very good points. It's for that reason I started to talk about, I don't know what's going to happen. I could, whatever, right? That's why I share guppies, this guppy strain that I import. I want to share it out to people who follow, who are subs of mine.
Yeah.
And I want to share it with anybody who will take them, really, to get that strain out there. People are going to start breeding these, right? And maybe we don't have to import these things from Thailand anymore because it was expensive.
Yeah. No, it's very expensive. And there's the whole issue of having to get the parasites out of them, get the bacterial infections out of them, get all this crap out of them that fish always come with when they're imported. I don't care. They always do. They're bred in such large quantities that they can't possibly keep up on it. So you have to go through a whole preventative program. When you bring them in, everything else, if you could just buy those guppies from the guy across town or even 1 or 2 towns over. And
exactly. I mean, FishTube is an amazing resource for exactly what we're talking about right here. Because there are a lot of fish tubers out there. I'm a plant guy just like you, guppy guy, micropropagation guy and all that. Those are my strengths, and if anybody would like to, reach out to me or to you, I know that you're just as supportive. I've heard you 100 times say it. If people will do that and learn to lean a little bit, right, on fellow hobbyists, I think we can maybe start to maybe make this thing take off a little bit more,
Yeah. And anyways, my hope is that there is enough people, and it's not like it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and where like the only way I knew a fish even existed was looking at Aquarium magazine that I ran down to the store to buy when I was a kid, right? And that's all I knew that existed. What was an Aquarium magazine, or if I could get my parents to take me to a pet shop that had some fish in it, and I see what they had. But really,
Tropical Fish Hobbyist, TFH, man.
It was learn as you go, right? And now with so much information, like just the information that you've shared with everybody tonight on tissue culturing, that I wouldn't even thought of tissue culturing was a word 20 years ago, right? Like we can do amazing things right here at home now. The information's there. So I would love to see. I would love to see more of this, more of locally bred stuff. I'd love to see more of what we're doing right now too, because I know that aquarium clubs across the continent, Canada and the US, where we're not meeting now. We're not sharing our ideas face to face anymore. We're missing out on that. So I'm hoping we can fill a void, perhaps this way, any other way. By the way, everybody, throw your shout out in the chat if you are a Aquarium Club affiliate. Throw it on there, represent. But we don't get that anymore. So we got to kind of turn this way. Things are changing a bit. It's going to be not face to face, but we can still have some good conversations and drum up ideas.
I agree with you. I think we were talking a little bit before this even started, and I told you, it may have even been yesterday. I think it was over text message. I said, I think you're onto something. Yeah, I agree. And YouTube, the internet, the invention of the internet, I mean, that changed so much, right? I mean, how are you gonna sell those 200 baby angelfish what are you gonna do with them? LFS isn't going to take 200 from you're
No.
in trouble, man. Why did you breed them? Right. That's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
Back in, 80, 82, what are you going to do with them?
But there's avenues now, right? We've
Right.
learned better ways. Individuals have learned better ways on how to ship fish. We're quite limited where I live. We're pretty much limited from, I wouldn't ship for at least another 2 weeks here with our temperatures. And then we got until like the end of September. So you're very limited with that. But I don't know if we're going to have to start just trading amongst each other more. And I think a lot of fish stores are going to go out from all this. It's
Have you ever had any? I'm sorry to kind of change.
go ahead.
Have you ever had any luck with shipping fish in like these? I don't know. I'm sure you can get them from somewhere.
Yep.
These rigid, like sealed, like
yeah. No, they work fantastic.
I wonder if like one of like those with like a 72-hour heat pack or something. And forgive me, I've never
I'm still going to do that. I'm still going to do that in 2 weeks.
Wow, really?
Yeah, like around here, it gets down to this time of year is very unpredictable. Like today, it was about 10 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. 60, 55. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely in the 40s. Yeah.
But it might snow tomorrow.
High 40s, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
it might snow tomorrow. So
you've got that unpredictability thing with your weather there.
Yeah, where you guys are quite you get cold, but you're quite mild, I think.
Nothing like you guys get. Nothing. I mean, we didn't even get. I think we got a handful of snowflakes this year. Last year we got the quote unquote snowpocalypse, as they called it, and you would have laughed at that. You would have been like, "Dude, really?
Yeah,
you guys can't drive in this, really?"
Wouldn't it take our snow tires off for it? Yeah.
Yeah, you just be laughing at us, as Washingtonians. I mean, they don't know what they're doing. Well, it's people in the West on the coast, right? Because it doesn't get cold. We don't get that here. I'd say the coldest it got, I've seen it here is 28 Fahrenheit. That's barely below.
That's freezing. Zero. Yeah. 32-0, right?
Yeah, 32-0, maybe 28, 29.
Yeah, it'll get that. It'll get that tonight. Yeah.
Oh, see, and outside right now it's, I don't know, 61 maybe or something.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think what gets you, I think what you're saying is that it's that unpredictability.
Yeah, you don't want to ship just in case. Like if I say I ship a box of shrimp, say that 3 times fast. Tomorrow, and it's overnight, and it gets down to -7, -8 tonight. I don't care if they're in a styrofoam box, anything. They're going to perish, right? They're going to be in at least rough shape when they get there. So I like to make sure if I'm going to ship stuff, they're going to be in tip top when they get there, or I don't want to do it.
Yeah, we have very, very similar philosophies on so much, really. I mean, you got your start kind of in cichlids. So did I. Guppies and angelfish. Right? Angelfish are cichlids, right? They're just not as mean. There's those south
cichlids.
Yeah, they're kind of the foo-foo cichlids. They can bust on you a little bit, but nothing like green.
They're the cichlids people ask if I can keep guppies with them.
Exactly. Like, I guess you can. But I went from that and I started realizing, as I got back into the hobby, like, wait a minute. Where were all these plants like 20 years ago? What has happened? And it really did change, with that CO2 injection, the guy coming home from a bar one night and bought some seltzer water and poured it into an aquarium, and it changed everything.
Well, I think the internet changed it too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is mainly this was an Asian thing. Asian thing. And when we started learning from Asia how to do this kind of stuff, we're like, wow, you guys are smart. How come we never knew about this before? Right. And then we started adopting it. Right.
Mm-hmm. So absolutely.
That's
and what's funny is you still see some of that innovation, certainly not as much, but you still see that innovation in the planted tank, the kind of aquascaping thing. It's still happening out east.
Yeah.
And it rolls this way. It just hits Europe and us a whole lot faster now because of fish tube.
Yeah. And I don't care. Asians still got it, man.
Oh yeah.
They got the aquascaping. You guys are
Oh
the
yeah.
champ. You win. When I'm on my Instagram or anything, and I'm looking, if I see, oh, my lights just went out. If I see any aquascaping and I can't understand the Asian language that it's talking about, I look because I know it's going to be amazing when I look at it.
Oh,
They
yeah.
that the patience to
Oh
do
yeah.
what they do.
Yeah. If I were ever invited to an aquascaping competition and it were hosted in like Singapore or Japan, not going.
Yeah,
I
I'll
mean,
buy.
I'd go.
I'll
I
come
just,
watch. Yeah,
fall down the morning of, oh, my aquascaping elbow,
I'll try to take them all out, get them drunk the night before.
Just take a kneel, man. Just take a kneel. Take a knee.
Yeah. I just seeing if there was any more questions for you. This has been an awesome talk. I'm sorry everybody on the chat. I really haven't been paying much attention to you, but seeing what else we got going on here. Lots of. Oh, we got a shout out. I'll catch this one in a sec, but we got a shout out to Brass, and that's my home club too. I didn't see any.
That's your home fish club?
Yeah, the Berry Regional Aquarium Society of Simcoe.
There you go.
But FishWhisperer Myles Florida, you can catch all types of fish that don't live here and lots of reptiles. So yeah, that happens. We're fairly safe of that up here. We do have quite a few. We're on the Great Lakes here, right? So we do have a fair amount of invasive species, but anything that can't stand cold water is not going to survive here. We ice fish.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. We you know what, we have a few of the same things going on, like that. That Hygrophila polysperma plant that's like, ooh, it's a super invasive. I mean, if it gets out in temperate water, you're done. You're done.
Yeah, what was the one here?
It's legal
Purple
in the state.
Something here. Purple loosestriff. Purple loosestriff.
Okay.
I may not be pronouncing it correctly, but I believe it's purple loosestriff, and that was it was destroying all our marshes here. It was a invasive species. Yeah, that really
come up from probably South America or Central America somewhere or something.
Yeah, I find most of ours come from Asia. Like we got the gobies in the Great Lakes and whatnot. They all come from all the ships coming back and forth, right? So, yeah, I did see another question from FishWhisperer Myles that was directed at me, and he was asking how many tanks I have, and I don't know. I have a few. I got over 30 tanks. I don't know exactly how many, but it's between 30 and 35 around there. One saltwater tank.
Well, that hygropolysperma plant, which is like illegal everywhere, it's a big no-no. We can have it in Washington because there are no waters that it's going to survive in. It won't survive a winter. It's just impossible. But because states have their own laws and all that, you can't ship it.
No,
can't ship it anywhere. Can't
but
sell
somebody
it.
Will.
Somebody is. It's everywhere. I mean, people have that stuff. So people, it's found its way in the mail.
Yeah. Oh, we got Big J just showed up. Well, I've heard some really cool stuff from you tonight, and I know my attention span is much like other people's, and after about an hour, that's about it. So I think we should probably wrap it up. This has been a freaking awesome live stream, and maybe you'll get me on one of yours sometime if I haven't scared you off.
Oh no, absolutely, that'd be fantastic. I had a lot of fun here, man, and I really thank you for having me on, and let's do it again.
I'd like to, because I'd like to hear more about the tissue culture. I'm actually going to do a little bit more research on my own here before we ever speak about it again, so I don't so I have a little bit of an idea what I'm talking about. But that stuff's super cool. I hope you keep doing it so we can have plants propagated here in North America, and we don't have to rely on importing them. As long as Trump lets Canada have some of your plants, he won't let us have any of your guys' masks. But he'll
I'll talk to the plant protection quarantine unit guys. I
Yeah.
actually know them. I actually know some of them.
Yeah, so we'll have to get some of them up into Canada. But
there you go.
Yeah, thanks again, Jason. I really appreciate it, man. You take care, and I will speak to you shortly.
Thanks so much.
Peace
Take
out.
care, guy.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody, for watching. It's been absolutely a fantastic live stream, and yeah, we'll get Jason on again, or possibly I'll go on Jason's channel. I am planning on doing this weekly. Yeah, I think I like the idea of doing Monday nights at 9 o'clock. So I think we will keep that up. So if Brennan's watching, you can put me in the schedule there on Facebook. But again, thank you, everybody, for showing up, and take care. Until next time, happy fish keeping.